Oh no, Stan, you didn't.
Don't panic. That could be anyone in that suit.
God, hot Belgian waffles! Wait, I'm alone. I can swear for real!
Diddly diddly biddly diddly, ah, hell, diddly ding dong crap!
Oh, I'm not gonna sit here and take this. Dear Disney, I am outraged and appalled by the language used in your programs. The following is a list of real swear words. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Sandbox. The time has come for another animation episode ranking, and I can think of no better than Gravity Falls, which just celebrated its 10th anniversary of its premiere date. I've done a few of these in the past, most notably for Avatar: The Last Airbender and Rick and Morty, so if you're a fan of those shows and you enjoy this ranking, there's a good chance you'll like those videos as well. You can check them out by clicking this link right up there. I'm a huge fan of animation, and this still being a small channel, I respond to every comment, so feel free to keep the discussion going on any of these videos. I would love to hear your thoughts. Gravity Falls is one of the most beloved and commemorated shows of our time, especially in meme culture and social media. It is a kids show on the surface, but has a special kind of meta humor and a vibe that everyone can enjoy. It's mysterious and whimsical with great stories and life lessons for kids and even adults, especially if you forgot to grow up like myself. It's one of the most consistent shows and is definitely one of my all-time favorites, and that being said, no episode is a bad episode in my opinion, which makes rankings like this really tough to do, but also a lot of fun. If you've got an episode ranking for Gravity Falls, or even just a top 5 and bottom 5, I would love to hear it, so don't forget to share it down in the comments below so we can keep the discussion going on this fantastic show. Starting us at the bottom at number 41, I have Season 1, Episode 13, Boss Mabel. Now again, I don't hate any episode within this show, but some have to be towards the bottom, and unfortunately for me, Boss Mabel is one that I just don't think represents the quality of the show overall. This feels like it could be in any other Disney Channel cartoon and work just as well, if not better. This episode focuses on a dispute between Mabel and Stan on how to run the Mystery Shack, Mabel vying for politeness while Stan takes a more blunt and rude approach in management. They both learn at the end of the day that it's not black and white, which is a good lesson for kids, but besides that, this episode doesn't offer as much as the others. This episode is also lacking a mysterious or supernatural element besides Dipper's hunt for a real exhibit. He finds a gremloblin, which granted is a cool monster, but kind of feels like they wasted it here, as that story thread feels a bit neutered and not as interesting as it could have been. At the end of the day, this is just one of those filler episodes that I am not dying to rewatch. Moving on to number 40, I have Season 2, Episode 9, The Love God. This is a fine episode with Mabel playing matchmaker and Stan trying to appeal to the Woodstick Festival hipsters. There is some humor here, but none that is that memorable for me. Dipper and Seuss are largely absent for this story, and you can feel it throughout the episode as it just feels weaker and like an average adventure for our main crew. Coming in at number 39 is Season 2, Episode 6, Little Gift Shop of Horrors. Each season has its own anthology episode comprised of 3 short-length stories, and this one features a hand witch, a smart waddles, and claymation.
Stop motion is pure evil!
And probably really expensive.
Incredibly expensive.
This is an impressive fight though. I'm glad I'm facing towards it.
Again, another okay episode that doesn't really offer all that much in the grand scheme of things. It's enjoyable and it has some funny lines, but it's nowhere near the better episodes on this list. Next up at number 38 is Season 1, Episode 17, Boys Crazy. This one definitely has more going on with a brainwashed boy band being taken in by an obsessed Mabel. For me, the boy band trope is a bit overplayed in animation shows like this one, so it's not the most interesting premise for me, but it is still enjoyable. However, what largely keeps this down is Seuss's absence, as well as Dipper's and Stan's side plot with Robbie's mind control music. I liked the side plot, but I also found it underwhelming at the same time, as it felt underdeveloped and like it probably should have been the main plot in another episode. But taking the number 37 spot is Season 1, Episode 4, The Hand That Rocks the Mabel. So this was not by design, and it wasn't until I finished this ranking that I realized this, but most of the Mabel-driven episodes are toward the bottom of my list, which is weird because Mabel is one of the funnier and more likable characters. However, with her episodes typically revolving around boy bands, romance, and unicorns, it does make sense for my list. The Hand That Rocks the Mabel is another Mabel-driven episode, with Gideon being introduced as one of the main antagonists for the show, and as Mabel's biggest admirer. It's revealed here that Gideon has one of the journals, but other than that, the supernatural and mystery components aren't really noteworthy here, and I didn't find myself laughing with this episode as much as others. Moving on to number 36, I have Season 2, Episode 3, The Gulf War. I actually quite enjoy this one as it highlights Mabel's and Pacifica's rivalry, and in the end it provides a good little lesson and starts Pacifica's shift to a better demeanor. The Lilliputians were cute and funny, and they offered a cool little dynamic for the episode, but of all the weird stuff going on in Gravity Falls, they're not my favorite. There's some good stuff here, but this is a filler episode, and a pretty mid one at that for me. Coming in at number 35 is Season 1, Episode 10, Fight Fighters. Focusing on Dipper and Robbie's rivalry once again, this is yet another mid-episode for me. There's some staple Gravity Falls humor here, with Seuss being Seuss, as well as Mabel trying to get Stan over his fear of heights. But the episode also brings up more questions than answers, such as who put that cheat code on that game in the first place?
To unleash ultimate power? I do like things that are ultimate.
Next up at number 34 is Season 1, Episode 6, Dipper vs. Manliness. Kind of in the same spirit as Fight Fighters, this episode homes in on Dipper's inability to fend for himself, being a small fish in a very big and very weird pond. There's no real mystery component going on here, but there is a good little arc for Dipper, with him growing into himself a little bit more and gaining some much needed confidence. There's also a few gags that really made me chuckle, especially those small town cops.
It's a gosh dang mystery.
Want to take off our uniforms and run around in circles?
Quit reading my mind.
But taking the number 33 spot is Season 2, Episode 5, Seuss and the Real Girl. Another video game character come to life, this episode focuses on Seuss and his pursuit for companionship. There is some charming humor, a scary final battle, and a great lesson for everyone, with Seuss learning that it's always best to be yourself.
Your face is good. I'm a Seuss.
Moving on to number 32, I have Season 1, Episode 16, Carpet Diem. A solid filler episode all around, this one focuses on Dipper and Mabel's fight over an empty room, as Dipper feels he needs some space to himself, given that Mabel keeps bringing over her friends for sleepovers. A haywire carpet, which can switch bodies, forces the two twins to see things from each other's point of view. There's a little foreshadowing to Mabel's mini-golf skills here, which I like, but the mystery component isn't as intriguing as in other episodes, and the humor is largely dependent on Seuss and McGucket, as per usual. Coming in at number 31 is Season 1, Episode 5, The Inconveniencing. This is where Dipper's crush for Wendy truly starts, and he's trying to make himself appear older and more mature in the hopes that Wendy will see him as boyfriend material. Dipper and Mabel tag along with Wendy and her friends, who are also introduced in this episode, as they break into a closed convenience store to have teenage shenanigan fun. It's not the funniest episode, but it's got some good scares and a good arc for Dipper, as well as setting up his relationship with Wendy extremely well, keeping up the overall intrigue for the show. But kicking off my top 30 is Season 2, Episode 15, The Last Mabelcorn. A decent enough episode that focuses on two plots: Mabel's pursuit to be a good person in the hopes of impressing a unicorn for a strand of her hair, and Dipper learning from Ford about how to block his mind from Bill, which results in Ford coming clean about how he first met Bill and helped him on his road to Weirdmageddon. The Mabel storyline has its ups and downs for me, but the mystery elements about Ford and Bill are what make this episode work and kept me intrigued. Overall, good lessons and a good continuation for that overarching story. Next up at number 29 is Season 1, Episode 5, Double Dipper. Featuring a double rivalry, one between Dipper and Robbie over Wendy, and one between Mabel and Pacifica on the dance floor, I find this episode to be a great early episode that continues to introduce characters within the town, new supernatural elements, and provide some actually good lessons, such as it's best to be yourself and find friends who get you and want to be near you. It's hard not to like this episode, especially when it kicks off with pure comedy gold.
Uncle Stan, what did you feed us? Guys,
Guys, stop! Something terrible just happened.
Comedy gold!
All right.
But coming in at number 28 is Season 1, Episode 9, The Time Traveler's Pig. These past 3 episodes were really close for me, and while I don't usually like time travel plots as they're overdone and usually oversimplified, this one came out on top due to its focus on siblinghood and Dipper making a big sacrifice that actually affects the story later on, namely Bill's manipulation over him.
Besides, what's your sister done for you lately? How many times have you sacrificed for her, huh?
There's also some great humor in here by, of course, Seuss, but also Justin Roiland's Blendon and some other minor characters.
Ah, 15-poundy. So, how much you guessing he weighs?
15 pounds?
Are you some kind of witch?
Overall, it's a solid episode with a great lesson and great characters. Moving on to number 27 is Season 2, Episode 17, Dipper and Mabel versus the Future. Serving as a parallel for the Stan twins and the Pines twins, this one has Ford trying to recruit Dipper as his apprentice, while Mabel feels like the one left behind, similar to Grunkle Stan. Dipper and Ford are thinking about the future, while Mabel primarily just wants some more time to enjoy summer with her brother and her closest friends. It's a relatable and a touching episode, especially if you've ever had to say goodbye to friends like when you're leaving high school or college. Utilizing Blendon's character and Bill's ability to take over bodies, this episode does its job by driving a wedge between our heroic duo and setting up the 4-part finale very well. But coming in at number 26, I have Season 2, Episode 4, Sock Opera. Building off of episodes like The Time Traveler's Pig, this one has Bill holding Dipper's countless sacrifices for his sister over him in order to manipulate him and take control of his body, while Mabel is hyper-focused on impressing her new crush of the week with her own puppet show. Dipper is trying to get the password to the Doomsday laptop that Seuss found in the secret bunker, and he tries to get Mabel's help, but in her boy craze, she allows Dipper and the laptop to slip through the cracks. This makes for some great stakes, it showcases Bill's strength and terrorizing features, and it tees up a great lesson for Mabel, which further strengthens the bond between the Pines twins. Now, while the humor aspect was lower for me here, I gotta say that Mabel's puppet show was incredible. But taking the number 25 spot is Season 1, Episode 11, Little Dipper. Another episode that focuses on siblinghood and teaches Mabel and Dipper how to get along and treat one another. This is another nostalgia-infused episode from me that is filled with great humor and some Gideon evil schemes.
An invisible wizard! Really, Dipper?
It's not the most noteworthy or the most exciting, but it's a great example of why this show is so enjoyable, with great writing, great lessons for kids, and a solid understanding of each and every character. Coming in at number 24 is Season 1, Episode 15, The Deep End. A charming episode of love, this episode showcases Mabel's newest crush, Mermando, while Dipper tries to get closer to Wendy by becoming assistant lifeguard, and Stan competes for a spot by the pool with Gideon. I mean, truly, a triple threat of love. While mainly a filler episode, I enjoy this one as every character is doing what they do best while trying to beat the summer heat, offering humor, charm, and a good story.
Zeus!
Inflatable duck guy? Is that you?
Yes, Zeus, I can talk!
Oh my gosh, I knew you guys were secretly alive. I knew it!
Next up at number 23 is Season 2, Episode 14, The Stanchurian Candidate. With Gideon still in prison after the events of the Season 1 finale, he tries to get back in the game by having his dad run for mayor. Dipper and Mabel decide to help Stan run to fight Gideon, which proves to be much harder than they thought.
Let's get real. Do you think the women of Gravity Falls wear too much makeup?
Playing with politics is like playing with fire, but this episode teeters around controversial issues well and offers a good episode filled with high stakes and some funny moments. There isn't a huge mystery or supernatural element going on here, but the cliffhanger ending certainly keeps up the intrigue. But coming in at number 22 is Season 2, Episode 8, Blendon's Game. Focusing on Seuss this time around and his depression over his birthday, this episode gives us quite a bit of heart and emotion, digging deeper into Seuss's character and his background. Blendin returns to invoke Globnar on the Pines twins and battles them in a series of games in the hopes of destroying them with the Time Wish. However, Dipper and Mabel win, and luckily for Blendin, come to realize their errors and make the right decision, saving Blendin as well as Seuss in the process. I love the ending here as Seuss gets some much needed character development, but still remains Seuss at the end of the day.
I also wished for this slice of infinite pizza. Watch. And it can do that for, like, infinity.
Okay, cool. Phew, that's a good time wish.
Moving on to number 21 is Season 2, Episode 19, Weirdmageddon 2, Escape from Reality. While my least favorite of the 4-part finale, I still enjoy this one as it keeps the stakes and the urgency required for a finale, and it dives deeper into Mabel and Dipper's relationship, giving us glimpses into their past and showing us what it means to be siblings. Mabel is put into a bubble as Bill grants her wish to have more time with Summer, and Dipper is on a mission to break her out, which requires a serious heart-to-heart between the twins. It's not the funniest episode or the most mysterious, but it pays respect to its characters and allows the final 2 episodes of the finale to feel more earned, so I gotta give credit where credit is due. Kicking off my top 20 is Season 2, Episode 16, Roadside Attraction. Serving as a one last hurrah in some ways, this episode is the end of fillers for the show, giving us one more side quest adventure with Stan sabotaging his competitors and Dipper learning how to talk and how to not talk to girls. And of course, Seuss just gets lost in the middle of it. It's kind of the calm before the storm, that is if you can count mummifying spider people as calm, but it's a nice detour episode before the build up to the intense finale. Next up at number 19 is Season 1, Episode 3, Headhunters. Season 1 has a lot of these cozy and fun mystery filler episodes that are predominantly focused on introducing more characters and setting up the world, and Headhunters is one that I always find myself gravitating towards. It's not the best nor my favorite of the bunch, but this is certainly an episode that gives me those good warm tingly vibes. Okay, that didn't sound quite right, but you know what I mean.
Is anyone else getting the creeps here?
This episode gives us a great little mystery, introducing reporters like Chandra Jimenez and giving Toby some more time to shine.
Toby determined, Gravity Falls gossiper. Do you really think this constitutes a wonder of the world?
Your microphone's a turkey baster, Toby.
It certainly is.
Next question.
And it has some great gags, especially with Stan and Sheriff Blubbs and Deputy Durland. Plus, who could forget Ducktective?
What? Ducktective.
All in all, this is a great nostalgic episode that helps cement the charm and the future for the show. But coming in at number 18 is Season 1, Episode 18, Land Before Swine. This one has a lot going on, with selfish Stan learning to be a more caring and sympathetic grunkle, Dipper learning how to treat his friends and be less judgmental, and McGucket just showing up for this week's adventure. The humor is a bit downplayed here, but with great arcs and lessons for our characters, as well as the episode pinning them against reanimated dinosaurs, this is always one I look forward to on my rewatch. Moving on to number 17, I have Season 2, Episode 12, A Tale of Two Stans. This was certainly an episode us fans were looking forward to after the jaw-dropping revelations from Episode 11. I mean, a secret twin in a family that has the genes for twins? Who could have seen it coming? Now, it is a bit divergent from the rest, serving more as a serious, dramatic retelling of the Stan twins' backgrounds and how we got to this point in their stories. We're largely playing catch-up here as the story fills in these histories. However, the answers we get and the emotion this episode provides pushes this one into my top 20 comfortably. It gives a lot of much-needed answers, finally scratching that itch that we've been feeling since the first episode, while perfectly setting up the latter half of this season with Uncle Ford. But coming in at number 16 is Season 1, Episode 2, The Legend of the Gobblewonker. This is one of my personal favorites, it being one of the funniest episodes of the entire show for me, and with McGucket being his crazy old self and delivering a fun monster for the episode. Stan goes through some loneliness while Dipper and Mabel decide to hunt the Gobblewonker with Seuss rather than spending quality time with their grunkle. Of course, they learn their lesson in the end, but not before delivering a great adventure with some hilarious gags.
We still have 13 camera... 12.
We have 12 cameras.
So what's the plan? Throw more cameras overboard or what?
But taking the number 15 spot is the show's premiere, Tourist Trapped. I think this is such a solid introduction to our main cast and the overall vibe and premise for the show, with Dipper finding the journal in the woods and having to go up against an army of gnomes with his twin sister Mabel. The mystery element is okay for this episode, but given that it carries a heavy weight of introducing so many elements and doing so flawlessly while providing supernatural vibes and sprinkling funny jokes throughout the episode, this is objectively one of the best.
What you reading? Some nerd thing?
But coming in ahead of it at number 14 is Season 1, Episode 8, Irrational Treasure. One of the first few true mystery episodes, this one has Mabel and Dipper searching for a major secret of the town to take down the Northwest family name, and in the process show Mabel that her quirkiness is not only not a bad thing, but can actually help to save the day. I love the treasure hunt here, as well as the silly jokes with Mabel and President Quentin Tremblay, and there's also some great lessons for kids here with learning that it's good to be yourself, and it's good to let go of grudges. It's not the best episode, nor does it have any huge moment for the grander story, but it is one of the silliest episodes, and it's still great on rewatch. Next up at number 13 is Season 2, Episode 7, Society of the Blind Eye. Another fantastic mystery episode. This one is a tad darker and a lot more serious, as is the nature of Season 2 overall, giving us more hints and some answers as to the mysteries of Gravity Falls and its townsfolk.
I was leaving the diner and I saw these little bearded doodads, and I was like, what?
We learn McGucket is the owner / creator of the Doomsday Laptop, which forces Dipper to think he may be the author of the journals, and while they learn that that is not the case, they do get more clues and learn the true background of Old Man McGucket. It's not the funniest episode that the show has to offer, but with one of these stronger stories and delving into one of the bigger mysteries of the town, this is a fantastic episode and continuation of the overarching story. Moving on to number 12 is Season 1, Episode 14, Bottomless Pit. This is Season 1's anthology episode consisting of 3 shorter length stories, but they are damn good ones that stay true to the characters and offer great little life lessons. Dipper's story about his voice is heartwarming and hilarious at times. Seuss's pinball story is exciting and funny, and Mabel's story is a great one with her and Stan, and it ties into the episode's larger story with the items she threw in the pit in the very beginning. I always look forward to this one on my rewatch. It feels like the creators of the show had fun while making this episode, and it shows. But coming in at number 11 is Season 2, Episode 2, Into the Bunker. Another episode that dives into Dipper's feelings for Wendy, with Mabel pressing him to finally come clean for his mental health's sake. This one goes by so fast because it's just so enjoyable. We get some great mysterious elements, a terrifying supernatural monster, and some great Seuss gags.
Oh my gosh. A smells dispenser. I remember these things. What's that? Guess I will have some of your old-timey face food. Ew, dusty. Oh.
We are taken one step closer to the real author of the journals as Dipper starts to get serious about his search for the author, and the episode ends with not only a touching moment between Dipper and Wendy, but Seuss finding a briefcase, which turns out to be a pivotal item for the story, the Doomsday Laptop. Kicking off my top 10 is Season 2, Episode 13, Dungeons, Dungeons, and More Dungeons. After a dramatic and intense few episodes, the show returns to form with Uncle Ford now being a main character, and this is probably one of my favorite Monster of the Week episodes. Dipper tries to bond with Ford against Stan's warning, as Ford and him really do see eye to eye, similar to how Mabel and Stan understand each other as well. There's this great dynamic going on here between the two pairs of Pines twins, and throwing in a Dungeons and Dragons like game as well as an infinite-sided die, this episode goes off the rails and has every character at their best for the story, humor, and drama alike.
Centaur! Yeah!
There are also some great meta jokes here, and the return of Ducktective definitely cements a spot in my top 10 for this episode. Coming in at number 9 is Season 2, Episode 18, Weirdmageddon Part 1. Kicking things off with Bill's invasion of Gravity Falls and following the events of Dipper and Mabel versus the future, this one delivers the first part of an insane finale filled with weirdness and every character of Gravity Falls partaking in the insanity. It gives us a great episode while further establishing Bill's power level, setting up the playing field for our heroes, and serving as a bridge for the final 3 episodes, especially part 2, extremely well. We see Wendy pep talk Dipper, showing him and us how much she believes in the Pines twins when they're together, and this episode also sets up Gideon's small redemption arc for doing the right thing for Mabel. Every character has their moment to shine, they're all hilarious, and all help to make this episode a great start for the insane finale.
Now see here, you unholy triangle fella. As mayor, I strongly urge you to get on out of here.
Moving on to number 8, I have Season 2, Episode 10, Northwest Mansion Mystery. And you gotta know that when Gravity Falls has the word mystery in its episode's title, you're gonna be in for a treat. I really enjoyed this episode with Dipper and Pacifica having to work together, Pacifica learning the errors of her family's ways, and Mabel and her friends fighting over a boy. It's not the funniest episode, but even a show like Gravity Falls deserves these more dramatic and serious storylines for the characters' sake. I also love the mysterious absence of Stan here, with the show hinting he might be up to something while the whole town is bickering over a stupid party. But besides all that, the actual story and mystery is great. The vibe this episode provides is reminiscent of the earlier, more nostalgic episodes, but it also comes with a larger scale story and much bigger stakes. And to wrap it all up, the episode ends with McGucket seeing a countdown go live on the Doomsday laptop, and the secret agents from the Season 2 premiere return, preparing for something which sets up the very next episode. It all comes together so well, making this one of the most well-rounded episodes within the show's arsenal. Next up at number 7, I have the Season 1 finale, Gideon Rises. Focusing on the more urgent big bad, Gideon is finally able to get his hands on the deed to the Mystery Shack and wreaks havoc on the Pines twins, giving them the boot and planning for domination over the entire town of Gravity Falls. The characters all have great arcs here, with Gideon proving he is a villain worth worrying about, Stan worrying about losing the kids, and Dipper sticking up for himself and saving his sister. There's great action here, some light humor sprinkled throughout, and some great answers to some questions the show has brought up, some that aren't even on your radar the first time watching. This is a great finale that utilizes its characters nearly perfectly and fits so much into a 20-minute episode without feeling rushed or convenient. For me, the reveal of Stan having the first journal and working on something big underneath the shack is what puts this one up so high on my list. The voice acting and animation required to pull off a lot of these stunts and story beats were just simply phenomenal. But coming in at number 6 is Season 2, Episode 21, Weirdmageddon Part 4, Somewhere in the Woods. Picking up from Part 3's insane cliffhanger, this episode delivers the striking blow to Bill with a great ploy from the Stan twins. It's a fantastic ending, both dramatically and action-wise, with fantastic animation and a touching score. And while there aren't as many mystery elements or hilarious jokes, this episode is focused on wrapping up every storyline and arc, and it does so fantastically, enough that I can overlook the rest. It's a great send-off for us fans, and the show being able to stick the landing here is largely what makes this show so dang rewatchable. Kicking off my top 5 is Season 1, Episode 12, Summerween. I absolutely love this episode. It hits those notes of nostalgia with the monster of the week vibe, but it goes further than that, offering not only a great story, but a great lesson for Dipper, and it has some emotional impact behind it thanks to Mabel. The monster, the Summerween trickster, is freaky and goes in line with the plot, and while the mystery component isn't as high as others, the monster plus the Halloween and summer setting more than make up for it.
Zeus, don't you dare!
Sorry, dude. Today's been way stressful. I need some levity.
I love Halloween episodes, and I thought this was a really creative way for the show to allow for one, while still sticking within the confines of the show's premise, that being Dipper and Mabel staying with their grunkle Stan for the summer. But coming in at number 4 is Season 2, Episode 20, Weirdmageddon 3, Take Back the Falls. This is the culmination of the show, with all the wacky, all the crazy, and all the mysterious components from prior episodes coming together, whether their part be big or small. We get to see the Pines twins reunite with the townsfolk and fight back against Bill, and learn what the crazy prophetical symbol is that centers around Bill. We get big answers and big brawls, and even some big laughs tossed in there.
My blobs!
Don't you ever scare me like that again!
Hey, do me a favor and click that like button down there. Yeah, just click it. Just click it. As hard as you want. I don't care. And maybe share the video with a friend who would also enjoy this video. It would just really help the channel out a lot, and I really appreciate it. Okay, thanks. That's it. Bye. But kicking off my top 3 is Season 2, Episode 1, Scarioki. This was a close matchup for me, but I'm giving the number 3 spot to the Season 2 premiere over its finale. Both are great, but when I sit down to rewatch, this is the one that lands a bit better as it stands on its own and provides greater moments of comedy for me.
Second thought, gonna flip the script. Can I eat your brains? Yay or nay? Seeing some yay faces over here.
It's a fantastic setup for the season, bringing Dipper's search for the other journals back into the spotlight, as well as his hunt for answers to the bigger mysteries of Gravity Falls. I love the government agents introduced here, as they serve a pivotal role in the season, even though they do take sort of a back seat after this episode. And I love how creepy the zombies actually are here, as it makes this episode sort of a promise that Season 2 will be a bit darker and be a little bit more serious. The tone this episode establishes works well for what they're trying to accomplish, especially given the amount of dramatic irony within this episode. We know more about Stan at this point, and so each scene we see him in has these extra layers to it. All in all, a fantastic season premiere that introduces more moving parts and sets up the tone for the second and final season. But taking my runner-up spot is Season 1, Episode 19, Dreamscapers. This is a fantastic example of an episode that provides answers as well as new questions while keeping its characters and humor consistent. It's got a great plot with Dipper, Mabel, and Seuss diving into Stan's mind, and it has some touching moments, most notably Dipper's revelation that Stan is hard on him because he sees greatness in him and he wants him to be more prepared for the harsh world.
So you see, that's why I'm hard on Dipper, to toughen him up, so when the world fights, he fights back.
This episode sets up the season finale fantastically while still letting loose and having fun.
Nightmare? Hope it doesn't mean that British dog man I'm always dreaming about.
Oh, hello. Who's quack for sticking the pudding?
Ah! It's everything I ever feared!
But topping them all, my number 1 is none other than Season 2, Episode 11, Not What He Seems. This episode fires on all cylinders, not wasting a single second as it builds out the mysteries surrounding Stan, his bunker, his character, and his plans. This episode houses some of the best and most powerful character moments, such as Mabel's decision to trust Stan, Stan breaking out from his holding cell, and Seuss having a new mission of protecting these kids. Plus, he kills it as always with those one-liners, breaking that dramatic tension perfectly.
It's the final countdown, just like they always sung about!
The episode is all about trust and siblings, and it only gets better on rewatches after you know the big reveals and mysteries of Gravity Falls, most notably that Stan is a twin himself. Positioned right in the middle of Season 2, this one does everything and more that it needed to set up that latter half of the season, and to this day remains my favorite of the bunch. But that's just my ranking, and I would love to hear yours down in the comments below. Of course, 41 episodes is a lot to rank, so if you want to share your top 5 or bottom 5 instead, that's perfectly fine. As I mentioned before, I've done a handful of these animation episode rankings, such as with Avatar: The Last Airbender and Rick and Morty, which you can check out right here. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and or TikTok if you'd like to see more and be kept in the loop. TikTok is where I put all of my shorter length comedy skits and ranking videos, as well as companion videos to ones like these. For example, if you'd like to hear my list on more shows that are similar to Gravity Falls, then go on over to TikTok and follow me there using the handle in the description below. And Instagram is where I put all of my monthly video pipelines, as well as behind the scenes snippets and sneak peeks for future videos. But that's it from me for today. This was a doozy of a video, but I had a lot of fun making it, and I hope you guys had a lot of fun watching it. And if you did, please hit that like button and share this video with a friend, as that is what helps the channel out the most here. But as always, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will see you all next time.
I just don't understand who shot you. The only person clever enough to defeat Ducktective is... Ducktective! Oh!
You had a twin brother all along? That's the big twist we were waiting for?
What a ripoff! I predicted that like a year ago.